All the movies are connected by this single plot point. A plot point that involves an entity that existed before the dawn of man, but was forced into hiding in the space between spaces while we grew to rule over the earth. This is a real truth behind Evil Dead. I'm obsessed with movie lore, okay? Evil Dead's movie lore probably is some of the most interesting demon-related lore ever, over the Conjuring lore, which is pretty expansive itself. So you can imagine how obsessed a schizo cokehead like me gets over the complexities of the demonology within this universe. But with a litany of new spin-offs and standalone sequels that are coming out as a result of Evil Dead Rise's success, how does all this connect? Or are the studios just doing their own thing now and not relating it to the old Evil Dead movies? Well, they do connect. And it's actually very simple. This is one of the most schizo franchises of all time. Its evolution is insane. It encompasses both spectrums of genres, comedy and horror. Literally, it feels like the storytellers behind this threw shit at a wall, hoping it would stick, and it did stick. It all did. We're going from like time travel to regular horror to like alternate universes to like a chosen one plotline with God and all that. Like, this is insane. This all started off as a low budget horror movie in a cabin with demons, and then it evolved into something else completely. Now that first movie was like, if you take low budget and amp it up as much as you can, that's Evil Dead Part 1. As effective as it gets, with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell creating the iconic duo we know. We have some of the most cruel, vicious, malicious demons of all time in this. There is not a demon in any other movie that wants to cause as much sadistic chaos as the demons in this. These demons are like stabbing their vessels in the ankles. They're going crazy. They're laughing. They're like, imagine like if the Joker, the personality of the Joker, became you if a demon possessed you, and that was just you. And you have all the powers of a demon, super strength, all this shit. You heal, all that stuff. That's what we're talking about here. This movie introduces us to some of the best demon lore ever. Evil Dead 2. We're going to take the first movie, retcon a couple things of it, and now we're going to change this genre completely to comedy horror. This movie, try watching this movie when you're on drugs. You'll die. This movie is as schizo as they get. And yes, it takes an acquired taste of a horror fan, a kind of horror fan, to like this. I'll be honest. If you're just a fan of regular horror and then you see this shit and you're like, wait, what? This is one of the most classic horror movies of all time. You might hate it. But if you enjoy an amazing performance by Bruce Campbell, some of the funniest slapstick comedy ever, the most wacky shit that you've ever seen in a movie, period, you're gonna love this. This is a complete departure from the first movie in terms of tone, but it really changed everything for the horror genre. It really did. We have Army of Darkness. Basically, Ash, Bruce Campbell's character, gets thrown back in time, in which he has to face off against his evil twin in a fight for humanity, while an army of zombie demons comes at him. And he's fighting with like Lord Arthur, King Arthur, basically, in this. I'm telling you guys, we went from a normal horror movie at a cabin to we're going in medieval times and fighting demons in a war, a full-on war. Let's just be honest about this. This is one of the best roles any actor has ever been given. This is one of the best actor matching character roles ever. Okay? This guy is Ash. Ash is not, when they wrote Ash, they probably wrote him to just be this like normal protagonist, maybe like a jock kind of. But when Ash played him, the writers were like, dude, we have a crazy character on our hands right now. This Chad, this non-caring Chad, as this prophesized chosen one, it's one of the funniest paradoxes of all time. And then Sam Raimi directing this, like, this is an iconic duo. But this is not, in my opinion, Bruce Campbell's best character. Bruce Campbell's best character, this is a hot take maybe, is Sam Axe from Burn Notice. If you know, you know. I will be making a video on that very shortly. Now, Army of the Darkness did give us something interesting. This shot with 3 books, 3 Necronomicons. Now, this was meant to be a test. The two were meant to be false, and one was meant to be real, that kind of thing. But this gave the directors in future films ideas of how to connect everything. Now, Ash vs. the Evil Dead show. If you haven't seen it, you should. I like this show a lot. I love Season 1. Season 1 is a classic Evil Dead. Season 2, we get some problems with pacing and random dumb plot lines. Season 3 is just basically kind of similar to Season 2, but with the weirdest ending of a TV show of all time, where the Evil Dead franchise now is in a post-apocalyptic future wasteland after Ash thought he had defeated his enemy, and now he's riding with a hot girl, Mad Max style, to fight off these demons with a futuristic car and machine guns. It's fucking insane and crazy and kind of dumb, to be honest, but this exists in the canon now, guys. This show technically is canon. So, where do we go from here? Well, Evil Dead 2013. The reboots, remakes, / sequels, maybe. Now, Evil Dead 2013, pure horror. We're leaning into the horror. This ain't comedy. This ain't comedy like Evil Dead 2. This is pure horror, new characters, new everything. And it works. It works particularly for me. If you're a sub of mine, you already know, chicks with dark hair smiling or looking demonic in a corner somewhere in the dark is like, it's like trauma in my brain when I see it. I have nightmares. These people give me nightmares, all right? They're just like a notch above Mike for me. They're like Mike, but less uglier. Now, pretty good horror movie overall, guys. There's nothing else that one can say. It's yes. If you're a fan of Evil Dead 2, you might not like this. Oh, you might be right. But the horror is genuinely awesome. The gore is insane, by the way. The gore is disgusting in this. If you're a gore fan, you're gonna love this. And it has legitimately one of the best third acts of a horror movie. Chainsaw going through the mouth type shit. If you've seen it, you know. It's pretty badass. They had a lot to do remaking a classic. You know, those first 2 Evil Dead movies are revered. So, making a classic with a completely different tone, and that could neglect the audience of the first 2, you might get hated on. But to be honest, I think they pulled it off well. Evil Dead Rise, similar shit, and this time it's a mother who's possessed trying to kill her own kids, for God's sake. You know me. Woman with dark hair in the corner, smiling. This is just eerie to me. It's like, get the fuck off my screen type stuff, you know? But I think Evil Dead Rise is a pretty decent film too. Do I like it as much as Evil Dead 2013? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I think character-wise it's better. The characters in Evil Dead 2013 aren't anything to write home about. But I think the demonic violence of Evil Dead 2013 probably surpasses this. Although this movie does have a crazy ending itself. Alright? Overall, every single Evil Dead movie is a hit for me. Not a single one is missed. Even the show, which has some problematic seasons in it, is damn good. I love this world. But is it one world? How do they all connect? Well, this video will be the most expansive video in terms of Evil Dead lore you've ever seen, I swear to you. I do so much cocaine, you have no idea. This is what I live for. If you guys want an Evil Dead video that goes in deep into the lore, more than any other video it has, no one will compare to this video. I got you. Now, you need to know Evil Dead is a multiverse. We got multiple realities, multiple timelines. The show is a different timeline from the first 2 movies, which is a different timeline from Army of Darkness, which is apparently different timelines for any of these new movies, okay? But you could say, okay, so that means all these movies that we've seen with these different books, there have been different Necronomicon versions all these in these movies. They're just different timelines. So one book is one timeline, the other book is... No! The Necronomicon in the first Evil Dead movie is in different timelines itself. That book itself exists in different timelines. So you could say all of these books are in different timelines. There's a multiverse with all these books in it. So each timeline has like all these 3 books, all right? So you can't really say that. So I'm going to go off the assumption, all right, that these books are in one world, in one timeline. We're going to call it the prime timeline, okay? The directors didn't have a plan to connect them originally. I am going to connect them because the director of Evil Dead Rise said when he was making that movie, he hearkened it back to that shot that we were talking about in Army of Darkness where there were 3 books, 3 copies, and he said it'd be fun if each movie dealt with a book, with an iteration of the Necronomicon. And mine deals with one. Evil Dead 2013 deals with one. Ash's universe deals with one. And they're all connected. They're all sibling books in the same world. And that's how that's how the movies are going to be made going forward with that assumption in mind. So all this shit is canon, guys. They're all connected. Now, let's talk about how it all starts. The Dark Ones, a race of demonic gods, basically, wrote the Necronomicon. Okay? Now, these creatures ruled over humanity and made us their slaves with Deadites. Okay? They ruled us with demons at their behavior. So, the demons that we know now were existing in our sphere. Alright? Now, they were cast into the Badlands by either a prophesized one chosen by God or by another dark one that was with them that worked against them, you know, in support of humanity. We already know Ruby is a dark one who did exactly that. So, they wrote the book as a compendium for them to navigate the world of demon spirits that they saw through a dark dimension that had all these hellish spirits, all these demons. And they wrote incantations on how to summon them on Earth. But they also wrote visions of the future, like the prophesized one vision. All this was written in a book. Or they were written in 3. The Necronomicon has all of it. It's the prime book. It's the most powerful version of these books. It's the original, some would say. Right? The other 2 are less powerful. They don't open up rifts in time and all this shit, right? But they summon demons, they do all this stuff, but there's something else. It's almost like even Evil Dead 2013, it's like a tutorial for humans to see how demon possession works and how to actually save a lost soul and transform it from a deadite back to human again. It's almost as if, and to a lesser extent, Evil Dead Rise also kind of shows illustrations of how demonic processes work. So it's almost as if there were dark ones that made these 3 books. 2 books were made as supporting copies to the first one, but then there were a group of defectors, good dark ones, that came and wrote their own shit into those books to maybe help humanity. So these less powerful books were imbued with pages that actually would help humanity into stopping the deadites. Alright, keep that in mind. We have dark ones like Ruby, who we know in the canon have, in various timelines, have tried to save humanity against the dark ones, and she was primarily responsible for locking the dark ones into the Badlands and casting them out from Earth. So the problem is these books are still written by dark ones at the end of the day. So if you read the verses, you can there's still enchantments that summon demons. The humans are dumbasses. They don't know how to read all the enchantments. They just read verses thinking some good shit is going to happen without actually reading what the dark ones, the good ones especially, had intended for them. So it releases fucking demons or deadites. So the main antagonist of all these movies that lurks over the books is the Kandarian demon. You have other demons that function differently than Kandarian demon, like Baal in Ash vs. the Evil Dead, a much more powerful demon who is able to come into a human form and shapeshift and all that stuff, but he's killed. The Kandarian demon existed when the Dark Ones ruled over humanity, and when they were casted into the Badlands, the demon had to be thrown into a space between spaces, so he would see what's happening on Earth, but he can't do anything physically in it. So he watched for years, centuries, decades, as humans took control of humanity. They evolved from these apes to like humans that took control of the lands that he once conquered. So he grew hatred and resentment for them, the Kandarian demon did. And then when he discovered that tortured souls that go to hell can be corrupted and turned into deadites, he decided to launch a campaign against humanity. So he presides over all the books. The Necronomicon is his main passage into the world. But if that doesn't work, he has to go to the lesser books to find a way to get out as well. Now, we have different variations of this, right? In Evil Dead 2013, the main demon that controls over the book and everything happening is called the Taker of Souls. I believe they didn't actually use the Kandarian demon's name in this movie because for legal reasons, this wasn't technically part of the same canon, but now it is. So this is the Kandarian demon as we know it. All right? In Evil Dead Rise, that is a Kandarian demon that we're dealing with. So it's the same demon for all 3 books when they say us enchantment or read it from the book, right? So in Ash's world, in Ash's timeline, right? This creature wants to rain havoc on Earth and kill the prophesized one. The man from the sky that's prophesied to destroy the demon army, Ash. Okay? He wants to gain physical form and lead a war against humanity. He hates humanity. The end goal is that he could gain the most powerful physical form possible by the help of the Dark Ones and destroy the world itself. So here's how it would go in Ash's world, okay? You got the Necronomicon, which summons the demon, and then it causes deadites to take over humanity. This would cause people to stop this deadite invasion. Humans would try to read more verses from the book, thereby summoning the Dark Ones, maybe even accidentally, in a way to bargain for their lives to stop this deadite invasion. But the Dark Ones would see this and say, okay, we're going to put humanity to the test now. We're going to test him against our champion. So we're going to test the prophesized one of humanity against our champion, the Kandarian demon. So they summoned the Kandarian demon in the form of the Destroyer, a big kaiju demon, right? That's what this is. So at the end of Ash vs. Evil Dead, the Dark Ones are summoned. They break away from their imprisonment, and they're summoned to Earth, and they create the Kandarian demon's full physical body, the Destroyer, to fight Ash. And Ash kills it with the Kandarian dagger. So this is what the demon wants. He wants himself to be summoned by the Dark Ones. He wants to force humanity's hand by creating Deadites that will fuck with them so that they will be forced to summon the Dark Ones to either to worship or to make a deal with or to help them, but the Dark Ones will test humanity and summon the Kandorian demon in his full physical form, a full-on kaiju. And that way the Kandorian demon can reign and go crazy. But the demon didn't expect how badass Ash was, and Ash did kill him with the Kandorian dagger. He put it through a tank and shot that shit at the creature. Now, even if he loses or gets destroyed or isn't summoned through that book, all he has to do is wait for an enchantment to be said or to be read out loud from these books. And he could find a way, even though they're less powerful books and they don't help him as much as they help the humans, he can still find a way to create Deadites. So, in Evil Dead 2013, this book, Kandorian Demon has the power to take 5 souls. If he can take 5 souls, he can summon a catalyst creature known as the Abomination. The Abomination would just cause chaos on Earth, rampant chaos on Earth, killing as many people as possible. We're going to see how this works, okay? So, here's how it would work. The Kandorian Demon, otherwise known as Shaitan in this, or the Taker of Souls. So, you read an enchantment, you release him from the forest, and he just a POV shot where and he goes into a person. He creates Deadites. Those Deadites take souls, 5 souls. You take 5 souls, you release the Abomination. The Abomination will be killing people on Earth. This will cause people to be so scared that they're going to want to use the Necronomicon, the first one. They're going to use him, the Necronomicon, to do the same thing that we talked about before. Remember, the goal is to force humanity's hand to use the Necronomicon again, the Book of the Dead, which no one wants to use, to summon either the Dark Ones or to summon him directly into real form. So he can act as their savior. He's a Shaitan. He whispers sins into the ear. That's what many religious people believed that this demon was in this canon. They related him to the likes of Shaitan in religious Islamic literature. He whispers into your ear things you're not supposed to do. So, Deadites cause chaos. They cause the Abomination to be released on Earth. He starts killing his way to humanity. Humanity's like, okay, we need to fucking do something. Let's use this Necronomicon. And they release the Kandorian Demon's physical form on Earth. Okay, now, people ask, okay, 5 souls is all he needs in this book? Why not use that for the other books? Well, the problem is, it's a different book. We have different processes. And this was used as a last resort. The Abomination in this movie gets killed in 5 minutes by a one-handed chick with a chainsaw. He's not the most powerful demon you could send on Earth. This is just a last resort for the Kandorian Demon to send. An Abomination that can kill as many people as possible. But the problem is, he and everyone else knows this thing is, he's kind of like the nerd of the demon group. That's the problem. He gets killed very easily. So the Kandorian Demon doesn't actually want to resort to this, but he will if he has to. Now, we have another catalyst creature in Evil Dead Rise called the Marauder. Basically, Marauder is basically what happens if you take the Deadites, all of them, and you put them into one being and they all join together into this like spider creature, right? It's pretty badass. And the eyes in the first Ash movies are not the same. The Deadite eyes in the first Ash movie are different from the ones in the rebooted movies. But this one joins them all, which tells me that this book talks about all the Deadites. And the Marauder joins all of them into one hive mind being. So here, this is the hive mind being. The mother of all evil is what I'm going to call this catalyst creature, or the Marauder. Basically conjoining all these creatures. And the goal is, someone reads the book, Deadites are formed, the Deadites join into one, and they keep consuming. They're a consumer. They consume people into Deadite forms to join their body until the whole world is taken up and consumed, which would force either a chosen one or divine intervention itself to come down. An angel, maybe God himself. And if that happens, it'll rip a portal in the space between spaces and release the Kandorian Demon into his form. Remember, the Kandorian Demon wants chaos on Earth so that you either force humanity's hand or you force the heaven's hand. And that will give him an opening to come in. Or the Dark Ones would come down and release the Kandorian Demon to fight the champion of Earth 2. If this was to happen and Ash saw this, he would try to make a deal with the Dark Ones. He's done this in the show. I'll fight your champion if you release the souls of humanity and stop this Deadite invasion, this conjoining Marauder. That's the goal of the Kandorian Demon. So, for the next movie, do we want to see a unity? Do we want to see a culmination event where all these characters join? Characters from Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead Rise, and Ash? We know Ash, the actor, Bruce Campbell, he's a producer now. He doesn't want to play this role again. But maybe the money's right. And if they want to make money, they'll do this. So, you could do this. A post-apocalyptic, following up with where the show left off. The Deadites have taken over en masse. They've invaded completely. And Ash has to fight them off. So Ash has to find these characters who have all had experience with the books. And this movie could unite all three of the books. And what happens if you unite all three of the books? Well, we don't know. Maybe the Kandorian demon's true form will be revealed. Ash has to complete the cycle that Kandorian demon wants so that he can release a Kandorian demon's physical form. Thereby, he has a chance to kill it with the dagger. Once and for all. To destroy it. Maybe that's what it's leading to. Now, we know that can this really work? This Infinity War-like Ash Evil Dead movie. Could it work? I think it could, but the problem is you're going to have a lot of characters. I think you only need 3. The main 2 chicks from those other movies and Ash. But clashing tones. Ash is a really funny character. Sarcastic, has a lot of humor. The other 2 are going to be it's a lot dark. It's a lot of darker things we're dealing with these other 2 characters. One was a drug addict and the other one is like a new mom now, right? It's going to be interesting to handle this. And how are we going to can we really end the whole franchise with this one movie? I don't think we're going to want to. We already know that there's an Evil Dead Burn movie coming out, which is a standalone sequel with new characters. And I think they're going to keep milking this out for as long as they can. But how many movies can we see where Deadites are just attacking? It's like the Alien problem, right? How many more movies can we see a xenomorph attacking someone on a ship before we have to change things up and maybe expand on the lore? I want to see them expand on the lore. I would love to see Ash back. We can still do Deadites. I'm not saying we can't, but can we just expand on the demon behind it all? Can we expand on the 3 books? Can we actually put this into the canon where there were 3 copies and the main one, the prime one, Necronomicon is the most powerful one. And the demon sifts through each one to try to summon itself into physical form. That's what we got to do. All right? Those are my thoughts. Listen, I talked about how catalyst creatures were used by the Kandorian demon here. If you want to know a film in which a demon found a serial killer to use as this catalyst of chaos, watch my video on Art the Clown, the killer from Terrifier. All right? Like and subscribe.